All right, I'll give it a couple more seconds here before make sure everybody's in, or else we get these little beeps. People joining.
There's no way to stop that, Bill, or is it?
No,
I guess
it
not.
ends up showing on our video too. Ba-doop, ba-doop.
That happens too when Shannon's presenting. Everyone seems to beep a lot right before he starts
That's
talking.
that's when they leave. That's what that.
Oh, I thought they were joining. Oh, leaving.
Oh no,
Okay.
that's leaving music on that one.
I have feelings.
All right, I'll go ahead and get started. It's 1 o'clock. June 15th meeting. Our next one is July 20th. Well, of course, we do these or try to do these every third Tuesday of the month. Is what we try to do unless something comes up. We'll be recording as usual, and I'll put it out on the blog first thing tomorrow. So we'll have it out there. So people that can attend, or you want to send it to people to watch in your group, you can do that. We have one Microsoft Teams instructor-led classes coming up. It's a Power Geopac. Actually, it's not a. It's an in-person class. I don't know. I need to change that. Or it's an in-person class. What we got going on here at CAD Support. It's a Power Geopac SS10 MicroStation Basic class or Introduction to MicroStation. And that's July 12th through the 15th. There's 4 seats remaining. I don't know about the travel restrictions or what's going on still with that. It being a 4-day class, it may be somebody from Central District or somebody close that can come in and take these classes. But we do have 4 seats remaining. If you want them, then give Randall or I think Chad's helping out with that too. So Randall Hoskins or Chad Green a call, or go out to mo.u and try to sign up there. I don't think we've got it restricted to we can have 10 in class.
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
is that a Power Geopac class?
No, it's a SS10 MicroStation class is what it is.
MicroStation. Okay.
Yeah. Power Geopac MicroStation.
That naming convention always confused me. I think it just should be MicroStation. So, but
Yeah, probably should be. So it's a basic MicroStation. Here, I'll just do this real quick. I'll even get rid of the SS10. How's that? MicroStation class, July 12th to the 15th. I think that they got it set up for some bridge people and
Capital S, I think.
oh, you want a capital S in there? Unbelievable. Let me put that in there. MicroState. Oh, let me fix it for you too. One more thing. MicroStations. There. Oh, it should be good.
Now on sale at Walmart's.
Okay, so we do have that class. If you have anybody that needs this, or again, I don't know what the travel restrictions are on that, but if you have somebody needing to take that class, get a hold of those guys or go to mo.u. We have 4 seats left. And we still have the available online classes. We talk about it every month. Concept Station, Intro to MoDOT Hydrology and Hydraulics, MoDOT Hydrology and Hydraulics, Power Geopac MicroStation Fundamentals. Maybe that's what I should have put there, Shannon, instead of just Power Geopac. Yeah, that would have been good. And then Power Geopac Road 1. So we've got those out there available online for those that need it. Power Geopac SS10 tips. It's a big one happened in this past couple of weeks. Deleting elements in the DGN will delete them in the GPK, meaning you've lost your alignment. So if you go out and you place an alignment out there and you put a profile on it, and you don't like that profile, but you want to delete that profile, you delete the profile, the alignment's gone in the GPK. So you may have to get a backup. And it pertains to everything that's tied to that GPK. Anything that's tied to it, you delete something out in your DGN, it's going to be gone in that GPK. The other thing that's it's new is the DGN backups go through Bentley. It may take a little bit longer than before to get the backup, but we get them. And let's see. And the next thing we got is we got Kevin Vol is going to give us some ORD updates. So I am going to change his mode to presenter so he can do his thing. You ready, Kevin?
ready when you are, Bill.
All right.
I'm going to share my screen number 3. I've got a video too, so I'm going to turn
3? What do you mean 3? How many screens you got?
a few. I got a few. So
Okay, just checking.
can you see that by chance?
It is coming up. Open roads.
You got it. Open roads from
Got it.
conception through construction. So, all right. So I was asked to do a little presentation about a week ago to the St. Louis County. They wanted to know what MoDOT's direction was, and so I'm going to kind of use part of that presentation. Some of the stuff you might have heard about already before, but there's definitely a lot of new stuff in this presentation that you haven't seen before. So open roads, we are kind of waiting. CAD is for the next update in open roads. It fixes a lot of bugs that we reported. And once we get that release, which is due out, they say no sooner than second quarter, which is no sooner than July 1, we're going to kick the tires on that pretty hard, check out all the fixes that they've done. But we feel that that release is good enough to push out to the district. So we're waiting for them to release it. We're going to look at it. If it looks good, we're going to contact each district and find out when they might want to go to Open Roads Designer. We're hoping it's a good load, and we're hoping to have everybody switched over, or at least pushed to the district by the end of the year. Now, we're not going to force anybody to go to Open Roads with the current project that they're on. We're going to let you finish that out if you choose to do that. Now, there will be an option to convert up to Open Roads if you want to do that. Typically, you know, if you're already into like plan sheets and cross-section sheets, you're probably a little bit too far into the project. But if you're not to that stage, we could possibly convert you to Open Roads, and you know, if you wanted to do that. But again, we're not going to force anybody on any existing projects that you're on right now. But new projects, we would like you to start it off in Open Roads if possible. So. Well, what's the reasons why we're going to Open Roads? So here's a couple reasons that we're going to talk about. The first one is as of January 1, 2022, support ends for SS10, and that's not a super big deal because we've known here at CAD for a while that they really haven't been doing any upgrades to SS4 or SS10 for some time now. Their focus has been on the Open Roads product. So, you know, not having support or having support discontinued is not super great. In fact, we know of several states still on SS2 and they're still running fine. So, but we feel it's always best to be on a supported project. So if we do find a bug, we can report it. And then hopefully Bentley will look at that issue. So that's one reason why we're going to ORD. Another is Bentley finally combines its 3 road programs or products into one. So, you know, you guys know Power Geopac. Well, there's also a civil program called MX and Inroads, and they finally jam those all under one hood and call it Open Roads Designer. So after Open Roads Designer, they are not producing any more Geopacs or Inroads or MXs. It's just Open Roads Designer from then on. So. And so that first statement there, simply put, they're just replacing all 3 of their current civil products. And as the new product, Open Roads will combine the best of each of those individual civil products into one in Open Roads Designer. But, you know, they've been kind of doing this for quite a while now because, you know, I don't know if you all remember the criteria days here at MoDOT, you know, where we did our cross sections based on criteria. Then we switched over to corridor modeling, and we did that back in SS2. And that's really one of the first signs when they started combining their programs, because the corridor modeler and the templates is all from Inroads. And fortunately, we went that route way back when in SS2 because you know, the transition from SS10 to ORD should be fairly easy for our users because it's basically the same thing that you're working on now, but just a new interface and a couple new tools as well. So again, you know, there is a new interface. It's really kind of like a Microsoft ribbon interface, and I'm going to kind of show you that here So for example, this is Open Roads Designer that you're looking at here. And there are workflows that you can choose from. Right now I'm set to Open Roads Designer or Open Roads Modeling workflow, but you can switch to other workflows that you're working on. So if I just stay in the Open Roads Modeling workflow, you have tabs at the top. So if you're wanting to work work with terrains, all your terrain tools are listed right there. If you were, say, doing some corridor modeling, all your corridor modeling tools are right there. Say you're a surveyor, you want to work in survey, well, there's a survey workflow for that. So if you click to that, again, all your tools should be under these tabs here. Now, one nice thing about this, and it's going to make it a little bit easier for our users to switch over, is say you know what the tool is called, but you don't know exactly where it is in what workflow or what tab. The good thing is they have a search option up here, and you can actually go in there and say I want to set the coordinate system for this file. All you need to do is just start typing in coordinate. You don't even have to spell the whole thing out, and it'll start listing all the tools that have that name in there that you just typed up there. So I want to do the coordinate system, so I'm going to hover over that, and it will tell you where all those tools are at. These tools can be located in several locations. So this one is located in at least 4 locations. One's under Survey Utilities, another is under Survey Home. It's also under Drainage and Drawing Utilities Geographic. So I can just click on any of them and it'll bring up that tool. And at least I thought it did. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's right here. It switches the view that you have here. It goes into the tab, and there's the coordinate system tool right there. And so I'm going to go ahead and set that this file because I'm going to use it later on for something else I'm going to just be showing here. So I'm just going to get my coordinate system from another file. So I'm going to click that icon right there, and it's going to take a second to pop up the dialog, and I'm just going to steal it from my civil geometry file. And it's setting it to Central District Miller, and I can just close that down. Now, one nice thing about Open Roads Designer is once you set your coordinate system, and we've been training that in our classes to set that coordinate system because it helps the DGN know where it's at in the real world. And so if it knows where it's at in the real world, you can attach, imagery to it, and if that imagery has a defined coordinate system, it will just land perfectly on this DGN. But one nice thing about setting a coordinate system is in ORD, you can now go to the view attributes and then just slide all the way down to where it says background map type, and you can pull up Bing Maps. So I'm going to set it to hybrid, and here in a second it should pop up my Bing Maps. It's taking a second to think here. Let's try that again. Try street map. Up here it comes. Here comes the street map. So this is down by the Bagnell Dam area. I'm going to try to get the hybrid up just to make sure show you it works. Hybrid should be a mixture of kind of a aerial photograph and the streets. And for whatever reason, it's a little slow. Up there it is, right there. So that's one nice thing. It normally works a lot quicker than I don't know why. Maybe it's just because we're all on this call together. But it just pops in there. It knows where it's at in the real world, and it brings in the Bing Maps automatically, just that quick. Right. I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint. The other thing while we're going to it is performance and modeling gains due to the new 64-bit architecture. So I went out to the internet to try to kind of find a graphic that shows the difference between 32-bit and 64-bit. And this is what I found out there. A 32-bit has a picture of a sloth, which is typically very slow, versus 64-bit, which is a bull. And so we all have 64-bit, or I believe almost everyone out there in the districts has a 64-bit computer. But what that allows is a lot more access to memory. So for example, a 64-bit processor can store more computational values, including memory addresses, which means it can access over 4 billion times the physical memory of a 32-bit processor. So again, Open Roads Designer is built on 64-bit technology, and it can utilize a lot more memory of the computer than, say, SS10, which is not built on 64-bit technology. So when we're dealing with massive LiDAR files and stuff like that, it should handle it a lot better in ORD, and we've kind of seen that already as well. Okay. The next thing, all the old native tools have been updated and or removed. So what I'm talking about on this is there's no reliance on a GPK anymore. Remember that tip that Bill was giving out about, hey, you delete the alignment? Well, it deletes the alignment out of the GPK as well. You don't have to worry about that anymore because it's only in the DGN now. And so the tools that relied on a GPK were, say, the Alignment Annotation, plan sheets, the labeler tool, and a whole bunch more. Those are some of the main ones. So other new tools, we got new plan sheets tools that Bill has shown in the past. You can do a plan profile, a cross-section sheets, and a few more other types as well. We do have a new labeler tool that I'm going to kind of show a little video on that here in a second. We have a new alignment annotation. It's dynamic. Again, you move the alignment, it updates immediately. And so this is what I'm going to kind of go over here quickly after or next, is we're going to do a Topo Import tool, which is kind of, it's a neat tool where you can get some imagery, preliminary imagery, and you can get it very fast and easy. We're going to show a video on the civil labeler. We're going to talk, after that, we're going to talk about the project-wise workspace and work areas. Then I'm going to show you the alignments and civil geometry, and then do a quick survey update as well. So for Topo Import, it's a technology, they call it a technology preview. It's a tool that's out there. I believe that technology preview is going to be stripped off of it when this next release comes out, but it's available to be used. And with it, you just click on the tool and you've got three options. You've got an Esri Terrain, a USGS terrain, and an SRTM terrain. And the way they explained it to us is the Esri Terrain is the more accurate, and then the SRTM is the least accurate. And so it just depends which one you want to use. Now with the Esri Terrain, you have to have an Esri account to actually log on to it and download that surface information. The next one down, USGS, you can just access it and it works, and it's fairly decent. I used it on a job that was down in Central District, and it matched. We had some LiDAR data, and we compared them, and it was fairly close. So that was good. So let's go ahead and show you that Topo Import. I'm going to switch over to ORD here, and I'm in a 3D file. I'm going to turn off the Bing Maps, and I've got a shape out here that I want to try to get some surface information from, some preliminary surface information. And so I'm going to go to my workspace. I'm going to go, or my workflow, Open Roads Modeling. I'm going to go to Terrain, because that's where the Topo Import tool's at. And I'm going to go to the three options here. I'm going to use the second option because I don't have a Esri account, so I can't use that one. So I'm going to use the USGS Terrain option. And it has a little dialog box, and it wants to know what type of feature definition you want to apply to this surface once you bring it in, and you can give it a name if you want. So I'm just going to go with the defaults there, and all you have to do with this tool, it's so simple, is you got to just locate the element, and it starts to download the elevations or the surface. And once it's downloading, it will create that terrain, and there it is. And it doesn't look like much there because it's just a boundary. But you can click on it and bring up the triangles and turn those on. And if you rotate the view, you can see that you have surface. It's just that simple. Now we had an exercise that we created to do this, and it was like 32 steps long to actually go out and manually do this from USGS, and this just makes that so simple to download preliminary surface information. So really a good tool. I think you're going to enjoy it once it's out there, once you get to it. All right, let's go. Oh, you can also see the contours as well. I was going to show you the contours real quick. I'm going to turn off the triangles, turn on the major contours, minor contours, and you can see what that looks like. All right. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. The next thing we're going to show is a civil labeler Video, this is a short video, about 3 minutes long. It's from Derek Gray. He's the kind of the project manager on the civil side of Bentley. And the reason we're showing showing the video is because we don't have that tool in our current version of Open Roads Designer. It's in the next version that's coming out hopefully around July 1. But just to show you, give you a preview of what this labeler is going to look like. So I'm going to start the video right now.
And I think we've really hit a home run with this labeler. So let me just give you a couple of examples on how it's going to work. So I'm just going to go to Drawing Production. I'm going to bring up the civil labeler. Now it's going to automatically load an XML file, which basically can contain all your labels. Notice you can have cross-section labels, plan labels, profile labels, drainage labels. So in this case, I'm just going to kind of go through the plan, and I'll show you a few things and give you some idea of how it works. So some of it can be very simple, right? So let's just say I wanted to label a geometry name. So it's just going to prompt me to select the alignment. It's going to automatically read the alignment name from the properties of the alignment, and I'm just going to place it out there, right? So again, everything's reading properties or calculating properties. So for example, if I were to go in here and change this name, let's say to ramp 22, as soon as I say okay, notice the label changes to ramp 22. If I move this alignment, the label is associative, so it will move automatically with that particular alignment. Now that's very simple stuff that, you know, pretty much any labeler can do. So let's step up our game a little bit. We've got a label here called intersecting name station or intersection name station. This is going to prompt me for two things. It's going to prompt me for two alignments. It said select the first intersecting alignment and the second intersecting alignment. What it's going to do is going to calculate the intersection point, and then it's going to create a label with the stations of the two intersecting alignments, and it's going to name them, and it's going to put the names of them in there as well. So this kind of introduces this ability to do multiple prompts, which is really where the power in this labeler is gonna come from. So let me go show you this. Let's go, here's one called Station Offset Terrain Elevation. So I want to label a point with some station and offsets and terrain elevation. So the first thing it says is identify the alignment you want to get the stations off of, and identify the point. So I'm going to select a point, and it's going to give me the name of the point, the station and offset from ramp 22, the coordinates, the elevation of the point. In this case, it's a 2D point. And then it's going to drop down and hit the active terrain and give you the ground elevation at that location, okay? Something similar, here's another one. This is a station offset projected elevation. So I'm going to identify the alignment to calculate the station and offsets off of. I'm going to identify the point that I want to label, okay? And then I'm going to create the label. So here we're going to put a box around it, give it the name, station and offset, coordinates, the elevation of the point, which in this case it has one, and then it's going to project over radial and give you the profile elevation along that alignment at that location, right? And again, this is all dynamic, it's all associative, so if I were to pick that point up and move it, so I'll actually pick that graphic point up and move it. Not only is it going to move the label, but it's going to recalculate stations, offsets, coordinates, and notice even the profile elevation of ramp 22 is recalculated as well. So again, this is and again, you're going to be able to operate in a 2D view, a cross-section view, a profile view. Here, I'm just going to go to the profile view. Notice it's the same labeler. I just open up the cross-section labels, and it automatically recognizes that it's in a cross-section view. So as I snap to these different locations right here, it's just going to calculate and give me those, in this case, something very simple, such as offsets and elevations. So again, these are just kind of an idea of how this works. We will deliver a fully developed labeler file that has a lot of different types of labels that you can use as different examples. Here you see the Civil Label Manager tool. This is where you would actually, if you want to copy labels or paste labels or rename labels or change the prompts on labels or anything like that, this is where you do all this. So here you can see this particular one has a single target. You can control the language of the prompts. You can put any prompt language in there you want. You can control if there's 2 targets, or you can have multiple targets. You know, you can have 4 targets or 5 targets or whatever you want to do. So super powerful labeler, going to allow us to do things, as I mentioned earlier, that our legacy labelers could only dream of doing. And
okay.
And
okay. So that was the labeler tool. It's looking pretty good. That's one thing that we're really going to have to hit hard once the new program comes out. We're going to have to look at that and get that set up to be pushed out as well. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the ProjectWise workspace and work areas. Because we are a ProjectWise state, when we go to ORD, we were kind of forced by Bentley to put our workspace into ProjectWise. You know, we just couldn't. There's just really no option to have our workspace out of ProjectWise when we went to ORD. And so we're just going to kind of talk about that. I've got a picture up here of ProjectWise, and right here is our CAD standards. And our CAD standards pretty much encompass all those folders out there. And our workspace is located right there. And the interesting thing about this, now that the workspace will be in ProjectWise, is that when you open up a file for the very first time, what it's going to do is it's going to copy that workspace and put it locally on your C drive, just kind of like you do when you check out a file. Well, the very first time, it'll do it one time. It'll copy everything out, and then it'll be local. And so the access times to your workspace files will be much faster being on the local machine. So again, expect that it takes about 3 or 4 minutes to do it the very first time, but after that, you don't have to do that to copy that back out again. The other thing I want to talk about real quickly is the ORD work area. And work areas are kind of like your project in your current SS10 projects, but they call them work areas now. And so here's a picture of a work area that we created, and what you see here can be modified. This is something that we created, and what we're going to do with work areas in the future is we're going to put everything under the job number, whether it's bridge, where bridge works out of, construction, design, survey. Everything's going to be under the job number. Now, you might be worried that, hey, somebody's going to be messing with my files that shouldn't be in there, but you really don't have to worry about that because, again, we can apply, and we are going to apply permissions to each folder. And so for the surveyors, only the surveyors will be able to get in and modify stuff in the survey folder. You know, someone from design might be able to go in and look at it and be read-only, but they can't modify anything that's in the survey folder. They can only modify stuff in their own folder, which in that case would be the design folder. So we think it's a better idea to get the whole project under one location instead of here, there, and everywhere in ProjectWise. And so that's the direction. Now, if you think there needs to be a different setup, let us know. We would like to hear your input on that. So, but I'm going to expand this out a little bit. I'm going to show you what's under each one of these folders. Under bridge, they can have multiple bridge folders under there, and you can create these folders if you want to. You just right click and create a new folder. Under design, we're going to have data, drainage, and lighting, and then we have plan sheets. Again, you know, this is just our default that we have. If you think it needs to look a little bit different, just let us know. We can modify that as well. And then survey is just going to have a data folder under it right now. So next thing I want to show you is what's under the data folder. We're going to have some default files. And so you're going to have these default files that you can utilize from the get-go. All right, so that's what the new look is going to be once you go to ORD, is that you're going to be working under one common job number, and everybody's going to be working out of that location. So again, but separated by permissions. The next thing I'm going to show you is some civil geometry and alignments. So I'm going to switch back over to Open Roads Designer. And I'm going to open up another file. Taking a second here. Go into my civil geometry file. check it in, my topo file. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just show you the new alignment feature definition. Remember, the old alignment tool required a GPK, so we don't need that anymore. So I'm just going to go to I'm in my open roads modeling workflow. I'm going to go over to geometry, and then I'm going to slide over to my complex by PI tool. And I'm going to look at my dialog box. I got a 1,000-foot radius. I got some spirals in there. But the main thing is I got this new feature definition called MoDOT baseline proposed. And that feature definition is under a new location. It's called alignments. And underneath there we have our standard baseline alignments. And I'm going to use the MoDOT baseline proposed. And so I'm just going to lay out just a simple alignment. And you can see when I place it and I'm done with it, it lays out the alignment. Now, we're not getting the annotation, so you're asking, well, how do we get the annotation? Well, it's real simple. All you have to do now is go down to, I believe it's actually drawing production, and we just have to go to element annotation. Once you select that, all you have to do is go out and select the element and reset the complete, and you get your alignment stationing, tick marks, information out there. And the cool thing is it will change when you change the scale. So you can see how that's changing immediately. So no more GPK, you won't have to deal with that anymore, it's been a long time coming for that. So the other thing I want to show you is you can actually modify this and everything updates on the fly as well. So say if I change the radius to 800, everything updates immediately on the fly. So the other thing I want to show you out, and this wasn't on my agenda, but I thought it's such a cool tool. I'm going to show you, and this is really probably the first when we went to SS10 and or actually SS4. I think this was my first bug that I reported to Bentley, that they did not have a tool to translate, rotate, and scale in the new civil tools. And we figured that out at one of our very first survey classes, and so we always had to export the stuff out to a GPK and do all that stuff back with the old Pogo tools. Well, they finally got the what I call the scale, rotate, and translate tool in here. And so here it is. And depending on what you select up here, it'll do it. So if I want to translate, you can do it by deltas, you can do it by a cursor point, or you can do it by points. If you want to also rotate at the same time, you can do that. There's the angle. If you want to scale the element, you've got that option as well. There's the scale value. And you can also even adjust the element Z value if you wanted to do that as well, but I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to move this by a cursor point, and I'm going to rotate it at 90 degrees at the same time. So I'm going to get it right here, and I'm going to go out there, and I'm just going to move up here, and I'm going to left click, and that didn't work. That's no good. Let me do an undo real quick here. Let's do it a little bit. Let's try to do this not so much at one time. Let's just try to move it and see if we can get it to move. In fact, I'll click up here on it. I move it. There it goes. It moved down. Okay, let's try rotating it now. This time I'm going to just do the rotation by itself. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Left click. There it goes. It rotates. So I don't know why it did. It should do it all. You can do all three of them at one time. Typically, I did it right before this presentation. It worked, but this time, for whatever reason, it didn't want to do all three. But at least we got the scale, rotation, and translate tool in here finally. That's been a big thing that we've been asking for a long time, and they finally got it in there. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, and we're going to cover our last thing for today, which is survey. And with survey, we always had some issues with survey, and that's why we switched over to creating a graphics file and a topo file. And we didn't really share the survey file, because if we shared the survey file, with designers, there could be some problems, and I'm going to kind of go over those problems that we had with SS4 and SS10 survey. And so the first one was the text issue. I don't know if you guys remember the horizontal lines showing up in your cross sections, but there they are. And those horizontal lines were survey text rotated on the side, and they would show up in your cross section, whether it's a dynamic cross section or actually your actual cross section sheets. Well, I'm glad to say in ORD that's fixed. So that we tested that, and it doesn't do that anymore in ORD. The next thing was the F6 key. And I don't know if you guys ever came across this, but again, what happened is when you hit the F6 key, the survey data, if you had survey data referenced in and you were at a certain zoom level, survey data would get copied into the whatever file you were in. So here I am, I'm in my corridors file. I do have some survey data in here. If you hit the F6 key, what that toggles is a little VBA app that runs a 2-view. And what that does is it opens up the 2D view and the 3D view into one view here, or 2 views in your window. And when you did that, you would always get this little settings dialog, and you didn't really know what to do with it. Most people just hit the X in the upper right-hand corner, but what's happening is survey data was getting copied into the 3D view, and it was wanting you to set whatever appropriate settings were for that new survey information in that file. So let's go ahead and kind of explain this a little bit deeper. So here's the 3D model before selecting the F6 key. And notice that when I do a select all in that view, I've got 199 items. So if I go out and I hit the F6 key, you'll see that I get this box. And then what happens is if I go back to that 3D model after hitting the F6 key and I do a select all, I now get 203 items in there. So 4 survey items got copied into that file. And if we zoom into it, you can see that it was the edge of pavements that were copied in there. And so that was a bug back in SS10, and it still functions that way today, but I'm glad to say that in ORD that has been fixed as well. So that does not, the F6 key does not bring that data in to the DGN anymore. So another survey issue was when survey data was referenced into a file and it was visualized, and if you hit if you did a merge the master, the survey data would again get copied into the active file. And so here's my civil geometry file, and I do have survey data in there, and for whatever reason this user wanted to select merge into master, and when you do that, nothing really shows up, but in reality what happened is that survey data, not just the graphics, but the actual survey information behind it also got merged into this file. And the way you can tell is if you go to the Project Explorer and go to the Survey tab, you'll see that a field book was copied in there. And so again, survey data was getting placed everywhere back before we started creating that graphics file. And so I'm happy to say that this has been fixed in ORD. This does not get copied when you do a merge to master. And then we had one last item that caused us some problems with the survey data, and that was targeting survey linear features. For example, like an edge of pavement or edge of shoulder. A lot of times designers would like to target that. They want their edge of pavement to go out to the existing edge of pavement line. And so the issue with that is say I've got some survey data here, and I want to target that the line over here on the left. This happens to be the first rec file that they brought in, called 0059 to 13, and this is the survey line that I want to target. So what the designer would do is they would go out, create their corridor, and they want to target that line there, and in the 3D model it's that line there. So what they would do is they would go into their template and they would select that template point right there, and they would go down to where the horizontal feature constraint is, and they would set the survey linear feature, which in this case for a edge of pavement I believe is a 107. And so once they set that up, they go back to their corridor, they go to their corridor tools, and then go to the pull down here for a corridor reference and add that survey line as a corridor reference. Once they do that, the template would draw over to that element, and everything's fine until the surveyor would go back and add in another rec file and reprocess. Because when he adds in that rec file at the top there, it basically reprocesses everything in the file. And the problem is that corridor loses what Bentley calls a GUID number on that survey line. It reprocesses it, gives it a new GUID number. And so what would happen is when the designer would open up that file after that survey file was reprocessed, their pavement would jump back to the template location. And so I'm glad to say that unfortunately it's not well, I'm not glad to say it, but that has not been fixed in ORD. In fact, they decided not to fix that on purpose in ORD, and what they're going to do is they are not going to support targeting horizontal feature constraints as far as survey elements. You can still do other elements, but not survey elements. And so instead of fixing it, they just basically are taking that function away, because the reason they explained to me is that you can do that same functionality with a point control. And so if you want to target a survey element with ORD, you'll have to use a point control. Okay, so let me give you a quick survey demo. I'm going to go back into Open Roads Designer. I'm going to go ahead and open up my survey file. Got one right there. But I'm clicking too quick. I'm hitting a dialog box twice there. It should open up here shortly. Check in my civil geometry file. Okay, I think we're in there. I believe we're in there now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my workflow that's appropriate for survey. So I'm going to slide down to my workflow of survey. And you can process your survey data through these tools up here, but you can also do it the old school way, which is through Project Explorer. So I'm going to do it through Explorer. And I'm going to slide down to survey here. And I'm going to go ahead and expand survey out. And you can see I've got the name field books here, but if you have an active field book, it'd be listed below there. So I have no field books in this file. So I'm going to go ahead and create a field book by just right-clicking, and I'm going to go down to new. So I'm going to create a new field book. And there's right there, field book number 1. And I'm just going to go ahead and process, or what they call import, a rec file. And I've got 3 of them here to choose from. I'm going to pick the top one. And I'm going to hit OK to that. And you can see it processing down in the corner there. I'm going to go ahead and zoom into that survey data. We got 2 pieces of survey data. And you can see what it looks like in Open Roads Designer. And pretty much all the functionality is very similar. The one thing that's different is under Analyze, we now have something called decorations. And decorations are temporary graphics. They tried to do survey with just hard written points that get written into the file, but it slowed the process so much that they had to go with a different option, a temporary graphic. And so these decorations are listed right here, and you can turn on the names if you want. And you got to zoom in a little bit closer to get the names, but you can see the names there. You can turn them off. You can turn on elevations if you want, descriptions. All these can be decorations. Now, one last thing we still need to do with surveys, we need to set up the actual text. If you want to plot this out, you need to have actually be applied text to the points as well. And we don't have that set up. All we have is decorations right now. And decorations you cannot print out. They're just temporary graphics. So we're still working on that, but we should have that done here shortly. But the functionality, say if you wanted to create a terrain out of the survey data, it's all the same. You just You can do it a couple different ways. One way is just making a selection set out of what you want to create a train file from, and you just have to go back to Explorer, go to the word field books, and you can create a terrain model from a field book selection set. So there's my terrain right there. I can turn on the triangles for that one. And then if I wanted to, I could also create one from up there the same way. So survey really has not changed a whole lot except for decorations and hard written in text. And that's really the case for most of the ORD. It's for the most part very familiar to you once you get into the tool. The only thing that has changed are the tools that relied on a GPK. Those have been rewritten, and that will be the hardest thing for you guys to pick up on. But we've got a lot of training videos out there for you, so that should be hopefully an easy transition for you. So is there any questions out there about ORD or anything that I went over?
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
This is Steve. What kind of time frame are we looking at when it comes to getting ORD out there to us?
We're going to be looking at we believe that they're going to push it pretty quickly after July 1. We're going to have to kick the tires on it for probably at least a month, getting like the labeler tool up to speed and just checking everything out so there's no hidden bugs or anything like that. But I think we could, probably by August or shortly thereafter, we could be contacting the districts to find out which district would like to go first with this. Again, we're not forcing anyone to go to it, but we think there's a lot of advantages to it. So if you can go to it, I would. So, but we're not forcing anybody. But on any existing jobs to go to it.
Are we looking at having to run like dual environments again on this when the new stuff comes out? In case, like I said, I might have a project that's basically almost done or whatever by that time. I assume we want to go ahead and maybe finish, a current project.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
That's probably what's going to happen. We can run this both dual. You can have both SS10 and ORD on the same computer at the same time. So that would be doable. But we're going to really, the last time we went from a major change, I think it was SS2 to SS4. That's what we did. We allowed you guys to finish out the projects if you wanted to in SS2, but any new projects we went to SS4. And I know Ashley tracked that pretty tight. She didn't want anybody starting any new projects in the old program because again, it's support is going away and we really need to get on to the new program. So
okay.
And if you don't think of any questions now, just drop me an email or call me, whatever. I can talk to you about it. So that's it. That's all I got, Bill.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. That went pretty well. Let me share my screen. And let me see. Everything's pretty much the same on the people out here. We will be looking for a drainage engineer as we are losing ours. So that is vacant right now. He's moving on to greener and brighter pastures.
Hey, Bill, nobody told me about that.
We
Someone's
wish
leaving?
him luck. Yeah. And nobody told you, Kevin? Yeah. So anyway, anybody got any questions over anything we talk about? I think Jim's next month, to be honest about it, I think it's Jim Copeland survey.
You are correct, Bill.
Okay, good. Good. He'll be giving a demonstration or a presentation, and we're going to try to more than likely when this we get the new software, we're going to really start doing these WebExes where we'll give a lot more information on them and links out to the videos that we've already done. So any questions before we go for the month? Anything at all? All right. I guess we'll see you next month. I forgot what that date was. Let's see, July 20th. It'll be on your calendar. And we will see you then.
Thanks, Bill.
Problem.